My name is Alex Yampolskiy. I'm a CEO of SecurityScorecard, the leading security rating platform in the world. In this video series called Security DNA, I'm going to talk to people from all walks of life, board members, CIOs, CISOs, industry innovators, about what cybersecurity means to them and the latest trends. Welcome. So thank you very much for having Lenny on our Security DNA program. So Lenny is an amazing visionary in the security space. I know him for many years. He's been an instructor at SANS, teaching courses on malware reversing, on incident response. He led a product management team at NCR, responsible for cybersecurity for small to mid-sized businesses. And right now, he's a CISO at Axonius, a startup in the asset management space. So welcome, Lenny. It's glad to have you with us.
Glad to be here. Hi.
So the first question I'd love to actually ask you, based on your experience as a product leader and a security innovator, is what do you think is the number one thing that security startups should keep in mind when it comes to building a new product?
Well, there's a lot to be said about building a product. So much to keep in mind. So it's really hard to pick one thing that you should start with. But if I were to think of one measuring stick, I would ask yourself, what problem am I solving? Your product, your tool should be solving a problem. It doesn't exist for the sake of beauty, for example, or for some other reason. So understand for yourself, first of all, what problem you're solving, and in relation to that, is that a problem that your customers actually have? Sometimes we come up with an amazing idea for an invention, but maybe nobody cares for it. Or maybe they will care for it from an intellectual perspective, but as someone experiencing a problem that your product is solving, and therefore will they be interested in spending money to address that problem?
Great advice. Excellent advice. So the second question is, what exactly is cybersecurity asset management? You know, I've been a CISO for many years. It's actually a new term, like it didn't really exist 10 years ago. So like, what exactly is cybersecurity asset management and why is it important?
Cybersecurity asset management is about making sure that security teams have the right visibility into IT assets that their organizations have so that they can make the right decisions regarding securing or overseeing those assets. It is just a way to remind ourselves that regardless of what your information technology team has in relation to its ability to manage its IT assets, you as a cybersecurity team, as a CISO, have to understand your assets to make meaningful security decisions, such as, how do I roll out my security agent to all of my endpoints if I don't know which endpoints exist?
You taught SANS courses on malware, on endpoint protection, on incident response, and so you observe a lot of trends. So when you think about endpoint protection trends, what should the CISOs be considering for the next year, for 2020? What are some new trends out there?
So one of the trends that we have had up until now, and thankfully that trend is gradually running its course, is related to the buzzword of artificial intelligence or machine learning being a part of endpoint security. But what is starting to happen now is that the use of some form of machine learning or other forms of artificial intelligence has become a part of every endpoint security product that I have looked at. And so I believe the trend that we might see is security products trying to stand out from the competition using something else, perhaps something that is a little bit more meaningful. What I would like to see in endpoint security is companies that produce products in the space being more transparent about what they actually do. I hope that buyers of endpoint security solutions are becoming more sophisticated and can start asking their vendors difficult, direct questions so that they can understand whether a certain tool is the right tool for their environment.
So that's a really good advice. So suppose you are given advice to a CISO, and kind of your friend who is a CISO comes to you and says, hey, like I'm talking to this amazing new startup, the best next-in-class endpoint protection, and like it all sounds great. Like, what would be the tough, direct question that you would recommend your friend to be asking that company to know if, to actually distinguish whether the product is legit or not legit?
Well, to distinguish whether the product is legit, you could start asking questions related to what malware protection capabilities they use, what methods they employ. You need to ask about specific ways in which malware can be prevented from executing and ways in which malware's presence might be detected after it has had a chance to cause some damage. This is an area where a lot of vendors are purposely being a little bit vague. Do they prevent the execution of malware in some cases? Do they prevent certain malicious actions from taking place? Or do they merely detect malicious presence after the malware has had a chance to cause some damage? Now, in most modern products, you're going to have a blend of those capabilities. I think it's important to ask the right questions to understand when do you prevent stuff and when do you detect it after the fact, leaving it up to me to eradicate or otherwise contain the damage.
And so if I were to ask you like a slightly more provocative question, like, if somebody comes to, like I literally just had the same conversation earlier today with a CISO of a nonprofit. And it's a large nonprofit. And the CISO was asking me, well, look, like right now I'm running antivirus software, and I'm not very happy with my antivirus vendor. So should I go select another antivirus vendor, or should I look at endpoint protection systems like CrowdStrike, Carbon Black, Cylance, the next generation endpoint protection systems? So like, would you say that antivirus is dead and people should not even go look at them and only look at endpoint protection? Or like, what would be the advice that you would give?
If you're talking about a corporate enterprise setting, then even though we use different words to refer to anti-malware tools, nowadays, any enterprise product that you buy that is modern, that you buy today or that you bought a year ago, is likely going to be not just antivirus, but it will have many other capabilities. Industry analysts use the term endpoint protection platforms, EPP, to refer to a suite of technologies you deploy into the endpoint to protect it. But another way to refer to it is antivirus. It's no longer meaningful to draw a distinction between a legacy antivirus or a next-gen antivirus if you bought the solution in the last 2 years, regardless of how they market themselves. So that's where you need to look at ways in which the solutions are different from each other, how much trust you have in the trajectory of the company. But keep in mind that, as the saying goes, the grass is always greener on the other side. So, hey, realize that there is no perfect solution. It's always a matter of understanding what you're willing to live with and which capabilities and characteristics are most useful to you. Know thyself.
Really helpful, interesting insights. Lenny Zeltser, amazing visionary in a space. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.